Classroom of the Elite Volume 0. So the problem with this volume is that, there is not enough kid action in this. Like, when an average code enjoyer heard about a Volume 0 with Kid Ayanokoji in the White Room. People expected the volume to be all about the life and trials of Kid Koji in the White Room. Like, imagine if that was actually the case, where the volume was all about Kid Koji Patrick Bateman style explaining all about his daily routine. Wow, just by imagining that, I can feel the 96 laws of power human inside of me. I can feel my blood pumping, head thumping, a funk remix pulsing. I swear the hype would have been unimaginable. Although it is not like we didn't get any of the Kid Ayanokoji Sigma tales in this volume. But still, imagine if it would have been at least 4 out of 6 chapters instead of being just 2. But aside from critiquing, we did learn more about the little Sigma Koji. After reading Volume 0, Ayanokoji is starting to feel like a badass all over again. Especially, a goosebumps-giving scene where Ayanokoji fought in his martial arts class and the White Room instructors started to hype it all up and Papa Koji asked, who is going to be the champ? And then everyone just went,
"That question will be answered this Sunday night!"
Anyways, Kid Koji was Sigma. Actually. For real for real. Also, it made me realize for the very first time that, if Ayanokoji Kiyotaka was not the monstrosity that he is, he would have been fucked. Fucked, I say. Like think about it, when Kid Koji was born he had all the elements to be the most depressed anime character ever. His father didn't give two shits, motherfucker even wanted his son to fail and fall into depression like the rest of the White Room dropouts so he could earn some more brownie points. His mother didn't give two shits either, plus she named him after the man she was having an affair with. That's straight up a gross villain backstory setup and I will get back to that later. And moreover the entire reason Kiyotaka was born was so that he could be the sacrifice for Papa Koji's propaganda. After taking an objective look at that I am just glad that my parents at least didn't plan to fuck my life up. That just happened cause of severe and continuous lapse of judgment. The thing being, if I ever found out that my constant suffering at the hands of my father was his well thought out master plan, I would be a murderer. But of course, Kid Koji was beyond such petty things like revenge, hatred and mostly emotions in general. In fact, Kid Koji actually really liked the White Room. He was freaking having the time of his life while other students around him were getting traumatized, which I think was sort of a bummer for Kid Koji. Like genuinely, he would just look at the kids and be like, "Brah, why do you all got skill issues?" But anyways, it's time to talk about the crux of this volume. The Japanese politics. See now, I know that many people just don't like politics. Maybe they just find it boring or too complex of a topic for their smooth brain. But I actually quite like politics in shows, movies or series. And I don't think there are many instances of politics being involved in anime. So this could have been a new interesting experience for me. But, it could be my unfamiliarity with Japan's politics, that lead me to the conclusion that, even though there were much talk about politics in this volume, there wasn't much actual politics in this volume. Like the whole explanation about what Atsuomi Ayanokoji, aka, Papa Koji, was trying out in the political world is too vague for me to even want to analyze it any further. It's like yeah, Papa Koji did bad stuff for the corrupt people. Some real devious deeds and that was his entire shady role until he got the White Room project from the great bad perhaps final boss, Naoi-sensei. And Papa Koji was planning to make a meteoric rise in his career as a politician by using White Room. Now there is much gray area here. Like if you want to criticize, we can freely talk about the actual logistics of what would happen if a random politician suddenly came up with a strict ass raising facility for orphans. Would that really lead him to becoming a crowd favorite in Japan? I don't know how that would work. I don't know what the state of society is in Japan exactly, but if a politician went, hey, you know what is wrong with this country? It's all these useless orphans, it's a waste of potential, I think we should throw them in a government facility and raise them up to be the perfect Japanese citizen. And hey, after you see how good the orphans are turning up, might you be interested in throwing your kid along our way too? If a politician did that, I think the Japanese people wouldn't really be salivating at that prospect. But, hey, I could be wrong. You never know, Asian people do be salivating at the prospect of seeing children suffer. Plus, politics is not really what code is all about. So it's okay to gloss over the political correctness of things at times. But let's once again focus on Papa Koji's jobs in the political world, which he gained by much hard work and sheer willpower. So, Papa Koji handled the stuff when a person needed to be silenced, he had connections to the gangs and all. Plus, he also provided dirty old politicians with entertainment. What does that mean? Of course, I mean the rising occupation of prostitution. And that is also how Papa Koji met Mama Koji. Now not much is known about Mama Koji except she was at the top of her job and connected through Papa Koji through some past relations and bussiness. Now, Mama Koji was introduced quite well, I think. At the start I was even naive enough to think that she could be an actual good parent. At least, better than fricking Papa Koji, and perhaps she might play a key role in future. But now, I wish to never see her again in the future volumes. Cause, she did one of the most bitchiest anime mom move ever. Bro, she named her son after the guy she was having an affair with. That's just gross. Straight up. Doesn't even matter that there having been 10 volumes portraying Papa Koji as the worst parent ever. With this single move, Mama Koji is arguably even worse than Papa Koji. Devious moves from her side. But let's explore this couple a bit more. So here's how their love story went. He wanted a child for his master plan, she wanted a change in occupation. He wanted an academically average woman from a lineage of poor performing people. She wanted money to sustain her life with her for-rent boyfriend aka host. Then, they signed a contract and got married. She hid her host boyfriend and made sure she didn't fuck up by spending too much with the host. He knew about her boyfriend, and he got a Tsukishiro to follow her around so that she doesn't fuck up. Kid gets delivered 9 months later. Kid gets named after the for-rent boyfriend. Cause he sprung up on her that he knew that she was having an affair with the for-rent boyfriend. So when asked she suggested her for-rent boyfriend's name, Kiyotaka, surely and purely to get a reaction out of him, which he did not give cause he is the heartless Ayanokoji. Then contract is fulfilled, money is given. Divorce paper are signed. Mommy flies out to meet her host boyfriend. And if you do not understand the whole for-rent host boyfriend thing, it's one of those Japanese culture thing just like their cheese-flavored Kit Kats. And with that the Mama Koji arc gets wrapped up. And I hope it's never brought again for a long time. But talking about Papa Koji's partners, let's talk about the one dog that was loyal till the end and beautiful from inside out. My man, Kamigawa. Granted he was a bit dumb, privileged and naive, but my man had more development in 6 chapters than Rent a Girlfriend. Son of successful politician, Kamigawa had no obligations to give so much respect to the upcoming try-hard politician Ayanokoji Atsuomi. But still he gave him his full respect. Struggled beside Ayanokoji Atsuomi to try and make White Room possible, and prove that he was more than just a second-generation politician by being useful. At least to some extent. But my man was there with Ayanokoji Atsuomi in the odd days of his hustle. And he stuck by his side. Even after getting backstabbed by the old geezer Naoi, Kamigawa kept Atsuomi close by his heart. Although he had to leave his side cause of complications and stick by Naoi's side, I know that in Kamigawa's heart he was still Ayanokoji's man. Without a doubt he was the best girl in this volume. Would love to see more of him in the future volumes. And talking about a character that we will see in future volumes, let's take a moment to talk about Tsukishiro. Cause by gods, with this volume, his character just got deeper than Ayanokoji's sarcasm. You know, it really opens up a new perspective in the sense that Tsukishiro literally watched Ayanokoji when he was in the womb. He kept tabs on his mother, knew all about Ayanokoji's background perhaps even more than Ayanokoji himself. He watched the child grow up from the very start. And then when the first time Tsukishiro actually met Ayanokoji, Tsukishiro tried to choke Ayanokoji. That's something. Also realizing that Tsukishiro could have done so much more damage. Not on the choking, but rather on his fight to get Ayanokoji expelled. Like, he had so much more ammunition. I think even Ayanokoji said in his conversation with Nanase that Tsukishiro did have some abilities that could really get Ayanokoji expelled, but he just never went all out. Makes you wonder what the fuck that arc was all about. But let's not talk about the matters of the teenage Kiyotaka and focus more on the kid Kiyotaka. Cause I still haven't explained how Sigma Kid Koji was. First of all, my man had unspoken riz. Even in the White Room where there was no hope for any romance, my man had managed to get a wholesome childhood smitten maiden experience. Something that you can only dream of. Although that smitten maiden did get a pretty traumatic end to her story. But before talking about the story of the kids in the White Room, let's talk about how the situation came to be. So Naoi-sensei was Papa Koji's boss. And also the head honcho of his political party. Papa Koji's entire political career was spent more or less catering to his demand. And that is also how White Room came to be, cause apparently children getting trained as infants to be geniuses was a jerk-off worthy propaganda. And Papa Koji thought, this is the future, I want to invest in, and decided to throw himself into it. But Naoi-sensei did nothing else except throw the idea to Papa Koji and then refused to provide any help with money or anything. Although he did provide him with a wild Tsukishiro. But then, Ayanokoji Atsuomi managed to raise the White Room from ground up, along with the man Kamigawa. He utilized various of his connection to get the orphans, participated in Bussiness World to get investing for the project, cause cash is king. Also got teachers through Tsukishiro, one of whom was the freaking mastermind who had the bright idea to just kill the emotions of the child at an early age so that they can improve better. But the main reason behind Kiyotaka being born was that, Ayanokoji Atsuomi wanted to show the business world his conviction regarding this White Room project, so he decided that putting his own son through the White Room project would show the whole business world that they could feel his passion and give more investment, cause cash is the king. To expand more in that, Ayanokoji Atsuomi decided that he wanted to produce some fast results for the investors to see and invest more, so at the time of his son entering the White Room, he went with the impossible difficulty being set in the White Room for that particular batch. No other future or past batch had it as tough as Ayanokoji's batch. So yeah, Ayanokoji's time in the White Room was when the White Room was operating to create the toughest regime for the kids to be put through. And Ayanokoji loved it. Seriously, if he didn't run out of things to learn, Ayanokoji wouldn't have wanted anything more than to just keep on learning in the White Room. And in that batch, when Ayanokoji was busy curiously testing out his human limits, this Yuki girl kept bothering him. She wanted to talk about nothing, which was a great mystery to Ayanokoji. He was like, "Sis, why talk? Don't you want to be working on improving your grades so you don't drop out?" He is just like me, for real for real. But, the first interaction Yuki and Ayanokoji had was very wholesome. Cause that was the first proper conversation that Ayanokoji had. And also the first time he saw a smile. A smile that blossomed on the smitten maiden's face. A phenomenon which both her and Ayanokoji had no clue about. And some time later Ayanokoji also tried to replicate that same facial expression. But failed miserably. But in earnest, that was truly a wholesome story of innocent children. Of course, though things didn't remain wholesome for long. See, Ayanokoji didn't always win. At the beginning he lost a lot, but then he rectified his mistakes, and after he started winning he never lost again. But the other children couldn't do that. And as they couldn't keep up with Ayanokoji they started dropping off. Even Yuki, who was among the top 3 in the White Room, dropped off when she couldn't keep up. And that was a tearful affair. See, young Kiyotaka didn't have a filter or another persona that would hide his heartless side, so he openly displayed it. And that was a bit hard to read. He just couldn't understand why Yuki was begging him to help her. Although he did point out a logical outcome that did give her a bit of leeway. I don't know if we would see much of Yuki, cause after years had passed and Kiyotaka had grown up and met Yuki, who was still traumatized by the White Room and desperately wanted to meet her first love again, she was in for a rude awakening. Ayanokoji just said what he thought, a cold to the point rejection of her feelings, plus entire disregard of her existence, cause she dropped out of White Room long ago and didn't have anything to do with him. It would be no surprise if she is still traumatized in a hospital somewhere. But there was also another Sigma kid in the White Room beside Ayanokoji, who left because he wanted to. His name was Shiro, which is a connoisseur of Japanese culture I can tell is a basic-ass dog name. And Shiro was the dog. Shiro's entire story is that he was great at martial arts and also defeated Ayanokoji a couple of times. But then when Ayanokoji started winning, he never lost again. So Shiro no longer remained a champion. But Shiro, I think, was the only other kid except Ayanokoji in the White Room who was of sane mind. He knew that White Room was gonna get tough with just the 2 of them, so he decided to intentionally drop out. Cool and simple, a dog till the end. He even told Ayanokoji he could join him if he wanted to. But Ayanokoji didn't do that. After everybody except him dropped out, he stayed in the White Room for years. All alone, just him and the instructors going at it, testing the human limits, and achieving impossible deeds. Also almost killing a group of adults. With all those achievements, I think there shouldn't be any competition in academics or athletics against him and any other student. Like fuck Konji's body and Sakyongi's mind, I think even 14 years old Kiyotaka surpasses them both. And 14-year-old Ayanokoji is also smart. Even after spending all his life being observed in White Room, he knew never to show his full cards. To let the enemy feel more power over in him. I think every instructor in White Room and his father considered Ayanokoji to be a soulless perfect human who did what he was told to do and had no emotions or desire. But Ayanokoji Kiyotaka did have them. He had curiosity and a strong will to test himself and learn more. It's amazing that he let others think that way of him for such a long time so he could lure them into false safety and then do something he desired. Anyways, let's talk more about the protagonist of this volume, Papa Koji. So I am not sure about you, but in the year 2 or even year 1 volumes, I had hear the phrase that the White Room project has stopped. And I was not really sure about what that meant. But now, with this volume 1 finally came to understand the meaning behind it. So Papa Koji got betrayed by his boss Naoi. Why and how did he get betrayed? Well, Naoi lost to some other politicians, so he suffered and realized he couldn't continue forth with the White Room project. So he told Papa Koji, who has been making the White Room project his whole life for years, to abandon the project cause he couldn't really make use of it cause he had lost. Plus, the person he lost to didn't really like Papa Koji and his dirty deeds, so Naoi's sensei basically told Papa Koji to fuck off from his side so that the guy he lost doesn't continue putting pressure on him. And Papa Koji, plus Kamigawa heard this news. Kamigawa was sad and frustrated, and Papa Koji was cold but burning with fury. So Papa Koji had to step out of the political world, but he did not abandon the White Room project. He had his plans, and he also planned his revenge. And more importantly, I think the conversation in year 2 and year 1 volume about Papa Koji is starting to make more and more sense. Like how Mr. Sakyongi talked about how Ayanokoji sensei has not stepped in the spotlight for a while. Plus the sort of relationship Mr. Sakyongi has with Ayanokoji sensei. And also what Kanzaki was talking about when he said his family admired Ayanokoji sensei. Also how, Ishigami, the first-year student, also son of a rich company owner and childhood friend of Kanzaki, might be connected in all this. It could be that Ayanokoji sensei was recruiting them young. And for the most part, I do think some of the character introduced in this volume will make a reappearance in the future volumes. That would make sense. I think the highlight of this volume was Code for the first time exploring a political side and trying to expand its horizons beyond just high school drama. And I do think it would be very interesting to see if it would be successful at expanding its world more in the future volumes.